I will be providing my in-depth experience of U.S. Navy submarines and how they prove we do not live on a globe Earth. However, due to the nature of my job and the security clearance that I hold, I wish to remain anonymous. I've worked for the U.S. Department of the Navy as a submarine quality assurance specialist for the last 5 years. My job is to ensure that each submarine is built properly, safely, and to the engineer's plan. I have an intimate knowledge of every aspect of each submarine being built in the shipyard I work in. Now that you've heard a little bit of my background, let me explain how I arrived at the crazy notion that the Earth is visibly and observably flat. I have always questioned the reality around me since I was little. I never followed anything mainstream, and I was never interested in what the news had to say. As I got older, I started looking into more and more things out of my own curiosity. 9/11, school shootings. I eventually started researching the moon landing because it just never sat well with me. And it didn't take long for me to completely unravel that for the hoax that it is. After that, I was starting to realize that we had been lied to on so many levels. What else could there possibly be? Then I saw a video about the flat Earth pop up on my YouTube recommendations. At first, even with my awakened mind, I thought this was absolutely ridiculous. I decided that I'd look into it simply to disprove it and move on. It should be easy, right? That was over 6 years ago, and I still can't disprove the flat Earth. In fact, the more I research it, the more it reveals. This leads me into my submarine experience. Looking back on everything I had accomplished while on active duty with eyes to see, has only served to solidify my stance that we live on a flat and motionless plane. I served on board of a United States 688I fast attack nuclear submarine, and I can personally attest that we never constantly angled down during our submarine deployments. One of our longest transits went from the Gulf of Oman around the southern tip of Africa and back to Connecticut. We were underwater for almost 3 months straight. My job on board as a radioman meant that I spent a lot of time both in the radio room and in the control room. The control room is where they navigate and drive the submarine. I never once, in my 5 years active duty, heard the officer of the deck or the diving officer give the order to consistently change the angle of the submarine to compensate for the curvature of the Earth. The primary task of the diving officer and the helms and plainsman is to maintain the submarine as level as possible while in transit. If the Earth had any measurable curvature, I am certain we would not have been able to make this incredibly long transit without accounting for it.
You're tricking us.
Here is another flat Earth proof that I never noticed while I was on active duty thanks to years of indoctrination. Periscope observations. When the submarine is at periscope depth and the observer is looking for ships on the horizon, they will start to see masts at about 8 to 9 miles, depending on atmospheric occlusion and sea state. The hull of the ships won't be visible until about 5 miles, depending on atmospheric occlusion and sea state. At 9 miles away, the target should be 26 feet behind the curve, but this isn't what's observed. My final flat Earth point on submarines is with regard to the AN/WSN TAC-7 ring laser gyro that is used on board of U.S. Navy submarines. A typical gyroscope, like the ones used on board of an aircraft, is a device used for measuring or maintaining orientation and angular velocity. It is either a spinning wheel or disc with a counterweight in which the axis of rotation is free to assume any orientation by itself. When rotating, the orientation of this axis is unaffected by tilting or rotation of the mounting, according to the conservation of angular momentum. However, a ring laser gyro doesn't have any established weight. They use light as a point of reference. It spins up a disc that shoots out lasers, and it has a digital encoder that deciphers where the laser strikes inside of the gimbal system. No make-believe gravity required.